Good evening, everyone. Today at Tax Mantra, we are once again here with a webinar on the topic of Vocal for Local, decoding India's electronic manufacturing scheme. So we are live on Facebook, and I'm Rahul. I'm partner at Tax Mantra. So Alok is not available today, so I am taking this forward with my friend and colleague Niladri. Who is a company secretary and part of the corporate law team at Tax Mantra. I welcome Niladri here. Hi, Niladri. Good evening.
Yeah. Good evening, Rahul. Hi.
And the Modi government, the India government has been focusing on manufacturing sector and especially the electronic manufacturing sector. And there are a lot of schemes and incentive schemes which the government has come up with to promote the electronic manufacturing in India, and not just promoting the electronic manufacturing in India, but also to create the overall ecosystem around it. So today, Niladri will take this topic in more detail, wherein we'll be discussing the schemes which the Indian government has come up with and how it can help the manufacturing sector, the electronics manufacturing, and it can boost it. And Niladri has a presentation. We'll be sharing that, and we'll be taking this topic forward. And good evening, and thank you everyone for joining. And we'll start it now.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. So, as Rahul had said this, that we are going to have this webinar on Vocal for Local, which has been trending for some time now on social media, hashtag Chinikam and everything. And on 12th of May, the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, he announced a package of 20 lakh crore to revive the economy. And out of that, in the last week itself, our IT minister, he had also announced around $6.5 billion for the electronic industry. So we would mainly be focusing on that part, on the electronic industry part, on the incentives, on the schemes that has been announced by the ministry, and we would speak more on that and what are the options available for people to come, for the entrepreneurs to come in India and set up their business, how they can set it up in India. We will speak on that as well. So how did it basically come up? Like, what was the context of it? So it was nothing but after this pandemic, every economy was hit, and India was not left behind. So Indian economy was also hit, and the government came out with a 20 lakh crore package. And last week, when the Union IT minister, he announced $6.5 billion for the electronic industry. So why electronic industry only? There is a reason behind it. So it is very interesting to note that 88% components used by the mobile handset industry are imported from countries like China. So when there is a growing fears among all the nations that we should boycott China, we should boycott Chinese product, India thought that this is probably the best time to boost this particular industry, the electronic industry, which has got 88% components which are imported from China. So if all these things are produced and manufactured in India, this can give a huge boost to the Indian economy. So that's where it came from. Now we would speak on what are the electronic manufacturing schemes that have been announced. While the smartphone sales are estimated to decline, the government introduced three different schemes. There are three different schemes that have been introduced by the government, and they expect that it would create 5 lakh to 1.5 million direct and indirect job opportunities for the Indians. What are those schemes? We would basically speak on these three schemes. The first scheme is the scheme for promotion of manufacturing of electronic components and semiconductors. The second one is production linked incentive scheme, and the third one is electronics manufacturing cluster scheme. So coming to the first scheme, the scheme for promotion of manufacturing of electronic components and semiconductors. Under this scheme, the government has said that they would assist with 25% incentives on capital expenditures for manufacturing products, including components, semiconductors, displays, and everything. So they would provide 25% incentives to such manufacturing companies. Why this scheme has been announced? This scheme has been announced to promote the local manufacturing mobile components. So there are several manufacturing hubs in India, manufacturing companies in India, and mostly these manufacturing companies are assembling. So they procure some of the parts from China or from some other parts of the world, and in India they assemble it. Now, to promote the entire manufacturing, the government of India has brought in this scheme for promotion of manufacturing and electronic components. The application for this scheme would remain open for 3 years, and the investments made within 5 years from the date of acknowledgement will be eligible for receiving incentives. So you have applied for it and you received the acknowledgement. Now, when you received an acknowledgement from the government of India and you have started incurring expenses on while on those expenditures and on manufacturing the products and all, you will receive incentives for 5 years. What is the incentive amount? The government has earmarked an incentive amount of 3,285 crores. So this incentive amount will be distributed over a period of 8 years. So this is the brief about the scheme for promotion of manufacturing of electronic components and semiconductors. Coming to the second incentive scheme, which is called the production linked incentive scheme. So under this scheme, the Indian government will provide incentive of approximately 40,000 crores, which would range between 4 to 6% on India manufactured products. And this would depend on the incremental sale of the goods for a period of 5 years, for which the base year has been defined as 2019-20. There are several eligibility criteria as well. So for mobile phone, if there is an invoice value up to 15,000, the proposed incentive rate is for first year it's 1.6%, second year 2.6%, for fourth year it's 4.5, fifth year it's 5.4, and you can see in your screen like the incremental investment over base year. So what should be the incremental investment by those companies to get the incentives? So these are few eligibility criteria to avail this production linked incentive scheme. And every manufacturing entity, if you wish to apply under these schemes, you have to apply it to the government of India. It's not that you will receive it by default if you are a manufacturing unit. Every electronic manufacturing industry unit, if you wish to avail this scheme, you have to apply for it. And there are certain eligibility.
Is there a prior approval required, or it's just an intimation?
No, there is a prior approval required.
Okay.
So every entities have to apply for it, and then the ministry would come out with the list like who will be eligible for it.
So only the approved companies who appear in the list of the government, they will be getting this incentive.
Right.
Fine.
So this is about the second one. The third scheme which has been announced is electronic manufacturing cluster scheme. So a similar scheme was already available in India. The government was already running a similar scheme, but now they have broadened the horizon of this scheme, and they have included a lot of things under it. So under this scheme, the Indian government would ensure that the provision for the best of the class infrastructure facility with ready-built factory, sheds, plug-and-play facilities would be provided to the manufacturing units. So this is very similar to what the Chinese government has been doing in their country. So why a lot of electronic manufacturing entities were running to China? So the facility that they would get in China, that was par excellence. So what the Indian government is trying to do is they are trying to provide a similar kind of facility in India as well, so that the manufacturing units can come up and set up in India and they would be provided with all these facilities.
So Niladri, one question which comes to my mind here is, so this particular scheme is for the people to develop the infrastructure, or the infrastructure will be developed by the government and people can come in and use that infrastructure? Like, will there be a private player who will be doing this infrastructure development to create the sheds, the plug and play facility, or the government will do and it will invite the manufacturer to come and set up in those clusters and just start with their manufacturing? Do we have any clarity on this?
Yeah, basically the government is creating those clusters. I mean, all the manufacturing facilities, these facilities will be created by the government in a large data bank, which the government is already working upon. And once those clusters are created, so there will be large clusters wherein several manufacturing entities can come up and set up their manufacturing hubs.
Okay, got it.
So here also the applications will be open for 3 years. There is eligibility criteria here as well, which, I mean, the eligibility criteria is big enough. It would take a long time to cover up. So we have not included it here. But the applications will remain open for 3 years, and a period of 5 years will be available for disbursement of funds. So funds will be disbursed to the manufacturing entities. In this case, the financial incentives is up to 3,762 crores. And in this case as well, it will be disbursed over a period of 8 years. So any electronic manufacturing entity, if they wish to start up in India, set up in India, they can avail these 3 schemes. One important point to note here is in social media, we have been seeing that a lot of people are saying that it should be domestic. The government is basically promoting the domestic players. It's not so. Here, these facilities can be availed by any entity. So it doesn't matter if the entity is housed in US or in Korea or Japan or in India. So any entity, doesn't matter where they come from. The motive behind this introducing these manufacturing schemes are that they should come and do business and set it up in India, basically making India a manufacturing hub. That's the idea behind introducing these 3 schemes.
So this is very significant, Niladri. So in many of the government schemes, be it Startup India initiative, like there has been an impression that it is only for local startups. So here what we are talking about is that the scheme is available for any entity which wants to set up electronic manufacturing in India, be it from the local promoters or be the subsidiaries or units of the foreign undertaking. So foreign investors, they can come in and set up their manufacturing units in India and take the benefit of all these 3 schemes. So this is, I think, something very important.
Yeah, exactly. And see, India has, I mean, already reportedly it is raiding a pool of land double the size of Luxembourg. Yeah. So already the entities who are looking to come out of China, India is planning to give them land in India so that they can set up their manufacturing.
Not only China, but India wants to develop Make in India. The government has this Make in India idea from a long time. So I think this whole COVID-19 situation, the government is trying to use as an opportunity to kickstart and give a boost to the manufacturing sector, especially the electronic manufacturing. And so people looking for cheaper options, people looking for alternative options for their supply chain, they can reach out to India and set up their manufacturing in India. Be it local and entrepreneurs or be it foreigners, they can set up and take the benefit of this scheme and take the cost advantage related to it.
Right, exactly. Also, there is also what has happened is why electronic manufacturing entity manufacturing industry. India is one of the largest electronics market in the world, so which is anticipated to reach around $400 billion by 2025. So by these schemes, the government wants to churn out approximately $133 billion by 2025.
It will not only boost the export, but will also reduce the imports of the electronic items and make the country self-sufficient in these items.
Exactly. And when at this point of time, when we are facing this huge unemployment crisis, in the coming few years, these things would improve a lot. And once India comes to this global level playing field wherein people can trust, wherein the manufacturing entities can trust Indian government, we are definitely going to benefit out of it. And every manufacturing units, every entity is going to benefit out of this.
Sure. And so uh, just a pause, Niladri. So we are live on Facebook and we have attendees in our webinar also. So if anyone has any question, you can ping in the comment section in the Facebook or in the webinar also in the chat section. You can ping, and we'll be happy to answer the questions at the end of the session. So yeah, you can continue, Niladri.
Yeah. So once we have discussed these schemes, so I would like to take up this what are the options that the entrepreneurs have, the manufacturers have of setting up in India, and how can they do. Basically, I would cover for the Indian promoters as well and for the foreigners as well if they want to come up and set up in India. So what are the options? So options for setting up in India. So there are three options. You can either set it up as a private limited company, a one-person company, or a limited liability partnership. So I would just go through what is the structure of these kind of entities. So in private limited company, the minimum directors and shareholders should be 2. In one-person company, the requirement is 1. So by the name itself, it suggests that it is one-person company. In case of limited liability partnership, the requirement is 2 designated partners. So in limited liability partnership, there is no concept of director, it's designated partners. So you should have 2 designated partners in an LLP. Resident director, yes, it is mandatory in any case. So if it is an Indian promoter, it's fine, totally fine. But if it's a foreign promoter who wishes to set it up in India, then in that case, you need to mandatorily have 1 resident director. No resident shareholder is required, but at least 1 resident director is required. Coming to the statutory filings, what are the statutory filings required? So in case of private limited company and one-person company, the statutory requirement is Form AOC 4, which is basically filed for the annual financial statements, and Form MGT 7, that is filed for the annual return of the company. And in case of limited liability partnership, there is Form 11. Form 11 is the annual return, and Form 8 is a statement of solvency. Income tax return, that is mandatory. So doesn't matter what kind of entity you set up, you have to file income tax return mandatorily. Audit. So in private limited company, it doesn't matter if any business has been conducted in a particular year or not, if there are any losses, profits, doesn't matter, audit is mandatory. One-person company, the same thing, audit is mandatory. And in case of LLP, mandatory only if the turnover of the LLP exceeds 40 lakhs or contribution exceeds 25 lakhs. So basically LLP is governed by the LLP Act 2008, but private limited company and one-person company, this is governed by Companies Act 2013. So a lot of things are similar in both private limited and one-person company, apart from the fact that the minimum requirement of directors and shareholders is different. So in private limited company it's 2, and in one-person company it's 1. Coming to the second part, what are the options available for foreign investor to set up in India? So if any foreign promoter, foreign investor wants to set it up in India, so you can set it up as an Indian company. So Indian company, when I say, it is basically a private limited company, which can be set up as a joint venture, as a wholly owned subsidiary. So this falls under the Companies Act 2013. You can set it up as a limited liability partnership as well, which we discussed in our last slide. So this will be governed by the LLP Act 2008. Coming to foreign company, so foreign company, the term itself, it says this is a foreign company, so you don't really need to set it up as an entity, but this is a shadow entity which is being set up. So this can be either of the three: liaison office, branch office, or project office. So depending on the type of office you set up, uh, the I mean the what kind of business you wish to carry on, it would depend. So if it is a liaison office, this is basically set up to represent the parent company in India. So say there is a company in US and you set up a liaison office. So this liaison office will basically represent the parent company which is located in the US. If it is a branch office, this would undertake certain activities. Now, those activities can include consultancy, export, import, research, etc. Project office, this is something different. In case of project office, when the office is set up, you have a particular thing to execute. Once that particular project is executed, the project office gets closed. So project office is usually started to execute a particular project, and once the project comes to an end, it's over. So these are the options that foreign investor or foreign promoter has to set it up in India. Coming to what is the process of setting up in India. So the process is, I've listed down the process in a very short way to give a brief idea. There are a lot of things which needs to be done. First thing is that the directors and shareholders, they need to procure digital signature certificates. Once the digital signature certificates are procured, they would have to apply for the name approval of the proposed company. So say someone wishes to incorporate a company, you must have thought about a name that you wish to keep. So you apply for the name approval, the ministry would scrutinize the name, and then they would approve the name. Once the name is approved, you would be given certain timeline within which the incorporation document should be filed. So you need to prepare the documents for incorporation and then file those documents. The ministry would again scrutinize those documents and they would issue the certificate of incorporation. Once the certificate of incorporation is issued, you get PAN, which is permanent account number, and tax account number. So once both these things are received, what usually companies does is they open a bank account for the operations of the company. So you open the bank account, the paid up capital from each of the shareholders that is being deposited in that account, and then you apply for commencement of business. So that should be done within a period of 180 days from the date of incorporation. And after that, you obtain all other registrations which are required for a particular business. So if it is a restaurant kind of business, you apply for FSSAI and so on. So if GST is required, you apply for GST. So depending on the nature of the business, you apply for other registrations. So this is the brief process of setting it up in India as a company. Coming to setting up in India as an LLP. So in LLP, the process is almost similar. A few things are different. So in case of LLP, the same thing. The partners would have to procure digital signature certificates. You apply for the name. Ministry would again scrutinize. Once the name is approved, prepare the documents, file for incorporation. The ministry would scrutinize them, issue the certificate of incorporation. You get the PAN and TAN. A little bit of difference comes at this point of time, wherein you file, in case of company, you file the commencement of business. In this case, it is mandatory to file the LLP agreement with the MCA within 30 days from the date of incorporation. And then after that, you obtain other registrations as well, depending on the nature of the business. So that's the process of setting up a company and an LLP. Now coming to the third part, so we have discussed on the schemes, we have discussed on how to set up a company and LLP. And now what happens if there is a foreign investor? What happens if a foreigner wishes to come up and set up a subsidiary in India? So when there is a foreign entity involved or a foreign individual involved, there are FEMA and RBI regulations that needs to be complied. So once the FDI is received, when the foreign direct investment is received in India, it will come through an Indian AD bank. AD is the authorized dealer bank. So there is a from the foreign entity or foreign individual. So once the amount is received, the bank is responsible for issuing FIRC, which is Foreign Inward Remittance Certificate, and Know Your Customer. So these two certificates are usually issued by the AD bank to the Indian entity which has been set up. So once these two documents are received, in case of, so if a foreign parent company has subscribed to the shares in India, so he has purchased some shares through primary issuance, in that case the form FCGPR is filed with the RBI for reporting of the issuance of a particular security. And if the shares of the security were transferred to a non-resident company or individual, the form FCTRS is filed with the RBI. So there are a lot of procedures, lot of documentations involved. We have not covered it here to keep it short. And as we are discussing specifically on the electronics industry, this is for everyone to know that 100% FDI is allowed under the automatic route in case of electronic industry, except for defense. So in defense electronics, FDI up to 49% is allowed. And beyond 49%, you have to apply for government approval. So if government approves, then you can apply beyond that, invest beyond that.
Recently, the finance minister announced that in defense manufacturing, the FDI limit is being raised to 74%. So this electronic manufacturing related to defense also, that will go to 74%, Niladri, in your understanding?
I'm not very much sure on that. I'll have to check this.
It would go. Yeah, it would go.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So giving a brief highlights on the approved electronic manufacturing clusters, like we have several electronic manufacturing clusters which have been set up in several states, in Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, West Bengal, Kerala, Goa, everywhere. And government is also working to set up these clusters in other parts of the country as well.
Okay. Okay. So the new scheme, will this be under these clusters, or will there be new clusters also which will be developed? Any thoughts about this?
Yeah, under these clusters are also there, and government is also coming up with new clusters. So these clusters are also included.
Okay.
So some investment opportunities. Currently, there are 11 investment opportunity projects in different states being run by both government and private bodies. I've listed 4 of them. So $88.28 million electronic manufacturing clusters ECT project has been set up in Telangana. This is a government project. $66.12 million US project in Odisha. This is also a government project. $46.28 million US project in West Bengal. Now this is a private project, and in Karnataka as well for printed circuit boards amounting to $5.95 million. So this is also a private project. So there are currently 11 different projects run by both government and private bodies.
Okay.
So there are several other projects as well. We can discuss this later. If someone has any specific query, we can discuss on that. Yeah, that's all about these schemes and how you can come and set up in India. If there are any questions, if anyone has any questions, we can take that now.
So Sunil has a question, Niladri. So Sunil is asking that how it is different for a new setup and for an existing setup. Can an existing manufacturing plant take the benefit of any of these schemes, or it has to be a new manufacturing setup? We have this concept of greenfield and brownfield projects also. So what are your thoughts on this? That is it for a new plant only, or existing can also benefit from it?
Existing can also take the benefit.
Okay.
If the eligibility criteria given by the government is met, then the existing manufacturing companies can also take the benefit out of it.
Okay. So we have got a question from Ritesh. He asks, is there any mechanism of approval? Is it defined somewhere?
The procedure is defined. There is a total list of documents which are required to be submitted, and you have eligibility criteria as well. If you meet those criteria, you have to apply to the government in a specific form which has been notified. So once this is applied, then there is a bench basically who would scrutinize the things, and then they would acknowledge it. So once the acknowledgement is received, they can avail the benefit.
Okay. Yeah, I think government has also appointed nodal agency which will take care of all these approval under a single
Right.
window. So
Right.
then the process can be taken up.
Right.
Fine. I think it was a very detailed and informative presentation, Niladri, and thank you so much for this. And a brief about
Thanks.
Tax Mantra. So Tax Mantra is a global tax and legal firm, and we do provide tax audit, accounting, and legal services to our clients, and we specialize in cross-border transactions, investment transactions, and we have our presence in various cities in India and also in Singapore and across US. So you can visit our website www.taxmantra.com. We can reach out through email to us or call us on our toll-free number, and we can help you with this complete India setup process, getting the benefits under these different schemes, manufacturing schemes which the government has come up with. And that's it for today. So thank you everyone for joining us, and we'll continue with our webinar series for some time to come. Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you, Niladri, and
Thanks.
stay safe, stay healthy, everyone. Thank you.